Good evening. Hey, what's up? This is Brian Kuzmar with Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals and ConciergeBullion.com in beautiful Lauderdale by the Sea. I've got the live LBTS camera up here, courtesy of Windjammer Hotels and Resort in Lauderdale by the Sea. And as you can see, there's the pier right there. Man, I see some dude out here. The water temperature is like 80 something degrees, folks. I've done this in the evenings. I had to get back to doing this in the morning or the evenings. Sit out here on a sandbar during low tide, 86 degree water temperatures probably. And the air temperature, I think, is like 86 as well. But the sea temperature is so wonderful. Take a look at this, two folks sitting here. But what's weird about this right here? This is actually, it's what, about 5:30, 5:45 right now here. And what's weird about this whole live video, folks, take a look at this. One, two, three people. I'm in Broward County, folks. I'm in one of the biggest tourist areas around that we'd get a lot of European tourists in the summer, which are mostly here. This beach is usually tattered with European tourists this time of year. Not a soul out there. Look, these are locals too, probably just enjoying the evening like I would if I wasn't doing this video and I was a little more motivated to get out after work. But I usually do this in the morning. I'll sit out here with a cup of coffee on a sandbar, neck deep in really warm water temperatures. All right, I'm telling you how great my little town is here, but I'm also telling you that it's just slow out there. One of the commenters on my videos the other night said that he's an Uber driver in LA and it's just dead quiet out there. He can't quite tell, is maybe the same thing as me. Is it typically this quiet this time of year? It is not. It is not. It's really, I thought about that, is it quiet like this? I know that we went through the 2020 Critter 19 thing where you absolutely saw beaches like this. You saw sidewalks like this in your major tourist areas. But you know what? This is abnormally quiet. Last year, I believe at this time, maybe again, everything had opened up in South Florida. Everybody was coming down here to visit and get the hell out of the blue states where things were actually quite restrictive to them. And they came down here and enjoyed our beaches in South Florida where things weren't quite restrictive and the businesses were opened up. But I think economically, folks, the beaches are quiet because things are really weird out there. There's a weird business environment going on, and I hear it's in LA, I hear it's in San Francisco, Illinois, New York, Chicago, especially the blue states. But when you see it this quiet in the red states, in the states that had kind of opened up like Florida had, as far as business-wise and everything, this is really quiet. There's something scary going on, and I don't think it's just hurricanes out in the horizon because I don't see any European tourists down here in Florida at all, which is really a bad sign overall. Typically in Florida, the European tourists would come here in the summertime because it was slow, it was inexpensive to come here. And by the way, if you live anywhere in the U.S. And you can visit Florida right now, take a look at the beaches here. Couldn't pick a better time if you don't mind. It's a little bit hotter than normal, but no less. Beautiful water. The hotels are really cheap, and the European tourists just don't exist here right now. What does that mean? Well, I think the economic environment out there is really pretty bad, folks. And let me get into something else here. Alan Greenspan quotes, because really it's all about the Federal Reserve. It's all about what they've been talking about, and I wanted to make sure that I'm recording this video. I've done that once before. I had to look up there and make sure the record button was on. So Alan Greenspan, and again, all eyes are on the Fed. Who was Alan Greenspan? Well, Alan Greenspan was the Fed as well, and he was a gold bug, my understanding too. But let's take a look at some Alan Greenspan quotes here since all eyes are on the Fed today. If all currencies are moving up or down together, the question is relative to what? And this is what I've been talking about for, the last month or two. Actually, I've been talking about it forever. But recently, I've been comparing the dollar index, the DXY. When people say, well, the DXY is up, the dollar is strong. Folks, that don't mean that the dollar buys more. It just means that the dollar, as exactly Alan Greenspan says here, is stronger relative to the other fiat turds. and I love that word, fiat turds, because that's exactly what fiat is a bunch of turds. The last horse to the glue factory, okay? And Alan Greenspan said it perfectly here. Relative to what? All right? Currencies are moving down relative to the other turds. That's what the dollar is strong relative to the euro turd, relative to the peso turd, relative to the Canadian turd. Okay, that's exactly what the U.S. That's exactly what the relevance of the DXY is, or the dollar index. And let me move along from there, because that's something I've just repeated enough times over the last couple months, if not the last couple years. Gold is the canary in the coal mine. It signals problems with respect to currency markets. Central banks should pay attention to it, and they do. And they do. And this is from Alan Greenspan. I didn't make this quote up. This is a real Alan Greenspan quote. Forgive me, my throat is a little bit dry from talking all day. That's what I do, talk all day. Let me take a quick sip here, and I think it's a Cabaret from Costco, actually. That's not bad. Costco does have some good wines here, folks. And I don't get paid to say that. All right, it signals problems with respect to currency markets. Central banks should pay attention to that, as Alan Greenspan did say here. And central banks do pay attention to gold. GATA.org talks about that. Market manipulation, why, how, and how long. GATA.org talks about what Alan Greenspan said here, is that basically, not that comment, but central banks do pay attention to the price of gold all over the country. GATA.org makes a great point on how central banks monkey hammer the price of gold to keep the price of gold down. And where am I going with this? Well, folks, I believe that besides central banks wanting to keep the price of gold down for their own reasons, and one of those reasons which Alan Greenspan talks about is that it signals problems with respect to currency markets. Gold is a canary in a gold mine. I've talked about this many times. Come on, this says everything. This quote says everything here. And GATA.org talks about that right here. Why, how, and how long. And absolutely true that central banks do look at gold as the canary in the gold mine. And when gold prices start to move up, they do monkey hammer it down. And GATA.org gives you examples on how they do it, why they do it. So yes, the price of gold is manipulated, folks, just as much as the price of silver. Gosh, and I don't want to depress you guys out there thinking like, why do I want to invest in these metals when they're so manipulated? Well, there's a couple good reasons. Number one, the same reason why you want to buy more gasoline at $1 a gallon, why you want to buy more meat or food at a much cheaper price per pound or per ounce or whatever the hell it is. All right, take advantage of buying these real products right now, why they're super uber cheap. Whether it's the price of silver, which is monkey hammered in the COMEX, CRIMEX markets by the big commercial banks, and take advantage of that. Take advantage of buying that stuff cheap. And as far as gold goes, who makes the price of gold really cheap? Well, I do believe it is central banks mostly, but I think that the recent entry of large commercial short positions into the gold markets, into the CRIMEX, New York Lobex markets, and the NYMEX markets with gold, I believe that they're being encouraged to do it. Why would government and central banks want to keep the price of gold down? Well, central banks would want to keep the price of gold down because it is the canary in the gold mine, all right? It says that the fiat turds are going south even quicker, and that is evident in the price of gold going up. So that's why central banks would want to keep the price of gold down using their manipulative manner. And again, GATA.org talks about this, why, how, and how long. Using Bank of International Settlements, gold swaps, all that good stuff. Very complicated, don't want to get into it, but I do recommend you read it. And on top of that, I'm going to mention a whole new reason why central banks and governments would want to keep the price of gold down, at least Western central banks and Western governments, is because of Russia and China. What does Russia and China have a huge amount of and has been accumulating for years and years and years? Lots of gold, folks, as has India and the other BRICS nations. Meanwhile, how many Americans are accumulating gold and silver? Very few of us. Very, very few of us. And do we even have, is there gold in Fort Knox? We don't even know that. Has it been leased out, sold? And you can say the same thing about the London bullion vaults, all right? Has it been leased out? Has it been sold? There's so much manipulation in the gold markets by central banks, I believe. It's not even funny. And now that we're looking at a competitive war going on with central banks against Russia. I mean, this is Western central banks against the BRICS nations, more or less, or against Russia and China, okay? And Russia and China hold huge amounts of gold, as do some of the BRICS nations. India, we know, has huge amounts of gold. So would it not make sense that the United States government and Western central banks would have a war on gold? Okay, and how would they do that? Well, with the price discovery, where price discovery is made, which is in the COMEX criminal, what I call the criminal COMEX markets. And folks, I'm not anti-American. What I am is anti-corruption and anti-graft, anti-bullshit, and there's nothing honest about the COMEX CME group markets. Nothing at all. I mean, the markets there are just simply monkey hammered by big 800-pound gorillas that have such a large amount of money that they can move these derivative paper money or paper markets around on a day-to-day basis. All right, but I don't want to go there. Gold market is just as manipulated as the silver markets in that manner by central banks, and now I believe by the again, we're seeing a lot of big shorting coming into the COMEX markets by the big commercial banks that were shorting silver, and now they're shorting gold. I think they're encouraged into it for a couple reasons. Number one, again, I believe the government, central banks have been keeping the price of gold down for quite some time. Why? Well, again, China, Russia, and it's a canary in the gold mine. There's a lot of great reasons why they would. And there's a lot of great reasons why they would encourage the big commercial banks to do the same thing. Think about it. So anyways, that's my conspiracy. I'm sticking with it, and I do believe that gold markets are heavily manipulated. And let's take a look at the second quote by Alan Greenspan. In the absence of the gold standard, there is no way to protect savings from the confiscation through inflation. There is no safe store of value. Alan Greenspan said this a long time ago, as well as this comment right here about currencies moving up and down. The question is relative to what? And again, what we've been talking about, dollar strength. Dollar strength is just complete bullshit. Doesn't buy you more shit. It just, dollar strength just means dollar is stronger relative to the other fiat turds. Gold is a canary in the coal mine. It signals problems with respect to currency markets. Central banks should pay attention to it, and they do through manipulation, as GATA.org talks about it. Again, a big circle there I did just to kind of hammer the whole point that I'm talking about home. And again, another Alan Greenspan quote. Again, it's all about the central bankers. These guys rule the world. Every American, every European, all the people in the world, what do they hold in their pockets? They hold the fiat turds in their pockets. Everyone is holding fiat turds in their pocket, including myself and you. These frickin' guys control the whole world. So you got to listen to what they say, listen to what they've said in the past, and read between the lines. But Alan Greenspan, in moments of honesty, I believe in moments of honesty, Alan Greenspan did say this, and I think it's really excellent sage advice to go by. There's no way to protect savings from confiscation through inflation. We're going through major inflation. Greenspan said this a long time ago. There is no safe store of value except for gold. And I honestly believe this. And again, we're talking about this today because it's really all about the Fed. It's all about the Fed. Fed hikes rates another 75 BPS. We knew this. Gold and silver probably knew this. Gold knew this a couple of weeks ago. And and not that gold knew that the interest rates. Again, I'd like to reiterate that Fed hiking interest rates has very little to do with the price of gold going down. Because really there's no real rates being paid. No matter what you buy out there, you can't buy treasuries, you can't buy bonds, you can't buy anything out there that's paying more than what the real inflation rate is, not what the inflation rate the Fed says is, okay, or what their official rate is, but what the real rate is. No matter what the Fed does raising rates, we're going to still be in negative real rates. Again, not official real rates, but if you did the real math real rates, we're in negative. They're not going to get into positive anytime soon. So there's no good reason for anybody to pile into treasuries, pile into bonds, other than that really maybe it's the least or the best performing turd when it comes to bonds and treasuries out there. But you're not any way in the real sense into real rates at this point, okay? And where am I going with this? Well, gosh, Fed rates hikes will add trillions to national debt. There's the next thing. We're in a shit show, folks. I'm just waiting for the whole thing to fly apart in pieces. Again, nothing good going on in the local economies here in South Florida. You look at the beaches, they're quiet. Things are quiet in LA. Things are quiet probably in your town as well. Let me know if there's anything different, if you live in an area that's just booming right now. But I think things are about to fly apart anytime here. And where do you put your money in these times? Well, it's precious metals. What am I leading into here? Well, all right. Let's take a look at the price of gold today. Just a weird market. I mean, take a look at that. A low of 1656, a high of 1687. We're currently sitting at 1674. In silver, 1926. Holding on to that $19 market. And again, these gold and silver and precious metals, gold and silver have nothing to do with real rates. It has nothing to do with inflation. The reason that we're seeing these prices low like this is pure manipulation in these markets. Gold manipulation by central banks, in my belief, and silver being manipulated just by big commercial banks that have been allowed to do it for decades and decades. Again, provides a great opportunity to buy these metals at super cheap prices. Nothing different here, folks. Metals have kind of been sideways for the last week. Meanwhile, what's been going on with the, where is it? I'm going to take a look here. There we go. Kind of surprised to see that the Dow Jones, let me just do a quick refresh here and hope that Seeking Alpha has good information and their data is correct here. But yeah, in the red, Dow Jones, S&P, NASDAQ down in the red quite substantially, and gold up. There's the divergence. Gold hasn't moved down further. Typically when these markets have been down big in the red, so has been gold. But gold is kind of stopped right now. It's frozen at these levels. We've seen a low of, what was it, 1658, 1660, something like that. And gold now sitting at 1673. Meanwhile, these markets still hemorrhaging. And again, the trend has been, when these three have been in the red for the last month or two, so has been gold, but not now. We're looking pretty good here. Gold kind of holding on to its own while these markets just kind of continue to head downward. Let's take a look at the 24-hour charts. 1673. This has to do with the Fed speak right here, and I can't figure it out. Take a look at this. Well, when did Powell say anything today? Was it this afternoon? I mean, take a look at this. Gold dropped in the afternoon, but after the New York Crimex markets closed and the world markets opened, gold up quite a bit. So I'm not quite sure what's happening here. And either way, this is artificial bullshit right here, these ups and downs. Gold should be way higher than it is right now. So should silver. Again, take a look at this in the after-hour markets here after the NYMEX New York market closes. Gold, silver up as well. But, God, all right. I'm so sick of talking about manipulation. It's just so freaking sick of it. Take a look at the misery index here, folks. When's the last time that we've seen inflation this high? I'm going to get into it right now. During the Nixon era, when Nixon took us off the gold standard, inflation just shot up dramatically. Remember that fuel prices were also part of the higher inflation that we saw during the Nixon era and the Ford and the Carter era. Take a look at that. Ford inherited Nixon's mess right here. Inflation just at a crazy level. Take a look at that. This is unemployment rates here in the blue, inflation in the red. Ford really saw the highest amount of inflation in this nation. I think at 19.54, 19.9. I think that was the height of it. And most of that being inflation with the high employment rate as well. As we get along here, Carter kind of saw the same. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I guess Carter did see much higher rates at 21.63. Carter was looking at pretty high unemployment rates, as well as look at the inflation rates, just insane. Kind of downward from there if you take a look at when Reagan took over. But hey, I want to take a look at some similarities that we've got going on here. And let's move down here. Close your eyes if you get dizzy. Biden, 12.02, but we haven't seen these kind of inflation rates since the Nixon era. Take a look at the climbing inflation rates like we have since the Nixon and the Ford and the Carter era. So take a look at these inflation rates. Again, at an all-time high since that period. Not an all-time high, but at a high since that period during the 70s and the 80s. Wow, it doesn't look like it's getting any better, folks, out there. Well, where are we going from here? I think I'm going to go to, well, what are the best deals out there? Same thing as they were yesterday's, folks. I'm just, boy, I talk about what the best deals are all the time. Bars are still the best deal out there. 100-ounce bars, 10-ounce bars, kilo bars, and that's in the generic forms. Stay away from Silver Eagles. If you got them, I'd recommend that you trade them and trade up for some generic stuff. You'd end up with more silver in your pocket with no out-of-money expense. And as far as gold goes, what's the best deal out there? It's gold bars. It's the same thing that I've been talking about for months. Even though the premiums and the delays on deliveries are getting even tougher on silver generic stuff, it's still the cheapest thing to buy, whether it's silver or, again, buying gold bars versus gold eagles. However, gold stuff, there still seems to be good available product out there for gold. The premiums aren't crazy, but silver, the premiums are just insane, even on the cheapest stuff, even on the generic stuff. Well, let's take a look at yesterday's video and what the questions were. A big storm is coming. I wasn't just talking about hurricanes, folks. I'm just talking about the economic storm that we're probably going to see coming up here. And here, again, close your eyes if you get dizzy. I'm going to answer some questions here. Wellco Strongman, what's up, folks? Thanks for commenting there. I appreciate it. Let me get into... Stephen W. talks about his, being prepared. That's what last night's video was about, being prepared. 10 miles off the coast in lower Alabama, and I've got the House 4 fire to take up to a Category 4 storm. Good for you, Stephen W. Whole house generator, and again, that's what I was talking about last night when I said the big storm coming. We got a big economic storm, and we've also got a hurricane coming up the coast here, which could possibly run up that Gulf Coast. So being prepared in many ways, not just for storms, but economic storms as well, was the whole point of last night's video. Thanks for watching, Stephen. I appreciate that. Basket of the currency for the dollar index is the euro. Oh, good, you broke it down. Stephen knows what he's talking about. Britannias are creeping up there. 2 Libertads are even higher, but I bought one yesterday. Okay. Again, I'd like to see comments. Stephen, you're one of the newer commenters out there. Appreciate your comments and comment. Gene Baker, do you have silver maples in stock? I do. 1,000-ounce silver bars, had to sell them for a divorce. All right, I'm going to answer more questions here because I've got to end this video quick. I got to eat something here. It's in the evening, and I've had a long day. Haven't got a chance to close up the store yet, and I still need to do that. Metals are affordable. Get some. Absolutely, Joey. And again, looking for any specific questions. I'd like to thank everybody for commenting. If silver goes to $1, the premium will be $23. You know, BS Detective, it wouldn't surprise me with how broken the COMEX markets are that silver could go to -$3. And you're right. No one would ever sell at -$3, much less $1, much at 12, much less at 12, much less at 15. I think if we see much lower prices than we do right now, you're going to see premiums either stay the same or increase. We've got a real issue out there with available above ground silver supply. Not above ground silver supply, but available. The cheaper this shit gets, the less available it becomes. Well, thanks for watching. I appreciate all you folks out there. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And this is Brian Kuzmar with Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals. That's our brick and mortar store in Lauderdale by the Sea. We're open 10 to 4 Mondays through Fridays. Come by anytime. We sell small quantities to large quantities, and we'll beat any of the local prices. And we'll also beat Atmex, SD, and JM Bullion as well. If you don't live in the state of Florida and you can't visit us, if you're buying more than 100 ounces of gold and you're buying more than 2,500 ounces of silver, call us at conciergebullion.com, and we can hook you up using wires and secured methods of shipping. We advertise again to beat Atmex, JM Bullion, and I almost said S&M Bullion. Atmex, S&D Bullion, SD Bullion, and JM Bullion. Oh man, it's been a long day. And Miles Franklin's, all those great companies. I'm a highly competitive guy. That's why I use those guys, because if you're going to beat anyone, beat the big competitive good guys. Well, thanks for watching. Have yourself a great evening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye now.